Jason, thank you so much for joining us today, man. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you on here. So with this podcast, we love to talk about the balance of fitness and health.
Sure.
And parenting and family, and just the importance of being involved. And lastly, business and career. So we'll kind of touch on all three of those points today. But for someone who may not know you, I know that's a slim chance that someone watching this isn't going to know who you are. Can you give us a little background on yourself so people know?
Yeah. So my name is Jason Khalipa. I live in San Jose, California. And I got introduced to the fitness space when I was 15. Started working at the front desk of the health club. Found CrossFit a little bit later on. Ended up starting a CrossFit gym. I won the CrossFit Games. I competed professionally in CrossFit for about a decade. Opened a variety of different gyms underneath the NCFIT umbrella. I have 2 kids. I married my high school sweetheart. I started another company called Train Hard about maybe 6 months ago that has a little bit of a different purpose. So NCFIT is for gym owners and coaches and for brick and mortar members, and Train Hard is more for men and women who want to train, protect, and provide, and just things that I'm interested in. I'm a jiu-jitsu brown belt. I'm an aspiring tactical games athlete, and that's it.
Right on, man. So let's talk a little bit about that. You got into the fitness industry at 15. That's pretty young. So I assume you got a job, like entry-level job at a...
Slanging those Gatorades, yeah.
Okay.
I was selling Gatorades and giving locker room keys.
Okay. So it's just learning the tricks of the trade.
Yeah, they would give you the membership card. You would just put,
Okay. So I know you had a mentor early on.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that are here at the Two Brain Summit paid for a mentor, but for those people that maybe aren't ready to pay for a mentor or maybe have someone in their life they want to approach, what would you recommend them to like approach someone in their life maybe they'd like to learn a little bit more from or potentially mentor them?
I mean, I think they would have to identify like, hey, am I reaching my potential in specific areas? And if I'm not reaching my potential, you might want to seek out knowledge from someone that's done it before or is older with more experience in different things. And I think that the power of mentorship, the power of attaining knowledge from someone who's already done it, it could just catapult you 10x from where you're currently at. It's really interesting the way that works, right? Like you pass on knowledge. And I think that especially as of recently, that kind of passing on of knowledge from like ancestors to, it doesn't seem as common anymore. I think a lot of people utilize the internet for information. I think that's phenomenal, but they're missing out on some of these like practical applications you can get from a one-on-one mentor. So for me, I was really blessed at a young age to have a mentor that taught me a lot about sales and a mentor who taught me a lot about business. And, they kind of, I want to say they found me, I found them. I don't know. It was just a beautiful symbiotic relationship that really paid off. And then from there, I've had a lot of other mentors, but I would say that if you're not reaching your potential and if you think there's room in the tank, you gotta identify a coach, you gotta identify a mentor. It's like if your fitness isn't on point, you want to learn a new skill, you should probably go find a coach. For me, I have tons of coaches in tons of different areas because they have been accumulating knowledge that I want to get.
Yeah, I think people would be amazed how many coaches high-level achievers have, right? I think I have 4 for different areas that I'm trying to fill and get better at.
And it doesn't even have to be super formal. So like for me, I have like I have a firearms instructor. I have a jiu-jitsu instructor. With the fitness, I just kind of more have like people I surround myself with to keep me inspired. But then I have, business teams. And but it doesn't have to be super, super formal. It could just be a friend of yours that you see something in that inspires you and just like take them out to coffee and just be like, hey, I want to talk about, being a dad. I want to talk about, what are your experiences doing the thing? And I think that more times than not, people are going to be open to sharing that.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little more about the tactical games for people that might not be familiar with that. It's pretty intense. So, I mean, it's got a pretty competitive environment. It deals with firearms on top of fitness, on top of tactical movement. So how did you fall into that? And, if someone is interested, is there a way for them to get involved?
Yeah, so I competed professionally in CrossFit for a long time. And I was like, okay, I love that. Then I pivoted away from the sport and I found jiu-jitsu. Before that, actually, I did Muay Thai. So I liked the combat sports. I got into jiu-jitsu. I've been doing that for 8 years. Love it. And the last couple of years, I've been really interested in shooting, right? Because I like this idea of like, if you look at the Olympics and like the biathlon, And you always hear these stories like, oh, the biathlete, like it's a really hard sport. It doesn't look that hard. Like there's like skiing and then shooting.
Yeah.
But years ago at the Rogue Invitational, I did this event that you did a ski erg and you shot like an air gun, like a pellet gun. And it was hard. It was hard. You'd hit these really small targets when your heart rate was jacked. And I remember saying to myself, man, that was difficult. I want to get better at that. And so, last couple of years I've been interested, and then I found the tactical games, which is blending fitness and shooting. And what I like about it is it requires me to have a calm mind and focus under stress, because your heart rate's gonna be jacked. You're gonna be trying to compete, and how do you hone in and still put your shots on target is not something I ever tested at CrossFit Games, so that's why I like it.
I love it, man. It really falls into that train and protect that you talk about with Train Hard.
Yeah, I mean, like, so Train Hard is a lifestyle that I have embodied for as long as I can remember. Anybody who's been around me, that's just the way that I train hard. And I want to try and support men and women to do what I believe is like the greatest gift, which is, I think training gives you superpowers. I really believe that. I think it helps you overcome so many real life situations I've experienced in my life. And this idea of train, protect, provide. When people hear those words, they instantly gravitate towards like whatever their preconceived notion is, right? Whatever you think that is, right? Like name the thing. For me, I think that train, protect, provide means protect means not just fighting or firearms. Like that's the likelihood of you having to ever utilize a firearm is probably almost slim to none. Hopefully. The likelihood of you having to get into a hand-to-hand combat is probably very slim. But the likelihood of you having to use your fitness to chase after a 5-year-old, I'd say it's very common, right?
Yeah.
And so,
5-year-old.
right. So the reality is that when I think about train and protect, I'm thinking about having the ability as a husband, as a father, as a community member to run, to jump, to climb, to lift. And if needed, yes, fight and whatever. But I think at the cornerstone of that is like, if you don't have the fitness to be able to go do all these things, like it's unfortunate. And then second to that, which is even more important in my opinion, is the idea of provide. I think it goes twofold. One is, I think when you train hard, you show up different at work. You show up more composed. You show up more engaged. I just got done training. Now I'm here. I'm focused. And I think that helps you at work make more money. So provide financially, but also providing experiences. I think that your fitness should never inhibit your ability to go do things with your kids. And that's what I mean by provide. Like if they want to go do the thing, fitness is not going to inhibit me to saying yes.
That just hits home for me, because just knowing where I was just a few years ago, 350 pounds, I wouldn't be able to keep up with my 5-year-old that's an American Ninja Warrior training and like.
And on top of that, the energy, right? So when you say keep up, it could be a variety of different things. It could be, actually physically keeping up, or just even like getting off the couch to like have the energy to go play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what fitness provides us.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Like everything is climbable to this kid. Even as a kid, I couldn't climb anything. So that is one thing I have to get better at. Gotta go to this rock climbing gym and start figuring shit out, because that kid, everything has now become open access to climbing. So that's a part I gotta fix. But the rest of it, I got energy for.
Yeah. That's right. And so for me, it's like when my son comes home, he's 10, my daughter's 13. It's like, especially my son, it's like, let's go do this, let's go do that, let's go do this, let's go. I mean, like literally nonstop. And for me, I'm proud that I don't allow my fitness to inhibit what I need or want to do. Like that makes me prideful. And I think as a husband, as a father, that's something I want to be able to do for the rest of my life. My dad turns 70 tomorrow, and I'm flying to go see him. I'm flying home to go see him, and we're gonna go kayak and go snorkel. It's like, dude, I want to be able to do that with my kids when I'm 70.
That's incredible, man. Like that level of passion for fitness is going to rub off on your kids. It's going to rub off on other people around you too. The first time we ever met, which I think was like 8 years ago this month at Box to Business.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, going back.
Yeah.
The original summit.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you remember, but we partnered, or I think we were part of a team on one of the workouts, and your just intensity, I'd never been around someone that worked out that hard. right? In CrossFit, nothing. Just never been around someone with that just mentality.
Yeah.
And I realized almost immediately the intensity level had gone up for me to levels that I didn't know I was capable of going.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important for people to realize that you have to have not necessarily Jason Khalipa, but like someone with that mentality in your life. If that's not in your circle of influence, you're probably missing out on a gear you didn't even know.
Dude, 100%. You know, like every week, we were talking about this briefly, but every week for 38 weeks, I have hosted a free men's club workout in a parking lot by my house.
Yeah.
I don't ask for anything. I don't talk business. I've never asked anything of anybody other than to show up and work hard. That's it. And it's really important to me because I started asking myself, and it started with the police department, and it started with my local men's club at the school that my kids go to. And the men's club was known as like, drinking beer, eating pizza. And I was like, hey guys, why don't we just do a workout, right? Why don't we go do something physical? And then I started thinking about the police department. I was like, if I have to call the police, I want them to be more physically capable than I am, or at least, close to, or whatever, right? I was like, what am I doing to support the local departments to help them get more physically fit? So that if or when our community needs support, they're going to be better prepared to help. And so are all the men in our community and women and whatnot. And so we just started doing it, and it's been incredible, man. Watching the bonds that are created shoulder to shoulder, just training hard. It's been something. It's been one of the most impactful things I think I've ever done in the fitness space.
I can personally attest to my experience when I was there for the
Ava's Kitchen, right? Yeah. That's right.
And I've made a couple friends that I still talk to this day, like Carl. I still talk to him regularly. So, it's really cool that you do that. And, for anybody you can
that was cracking, right?
That was wild.
Yeah.
That was my first workout back from the whole cancer thing. So, I was like, this is not going to go well.
We had like 70 dudes in a elementary school gymnasium on that day, and we were just getting after it. Yeah. That was great. Yeah.
I grabbed the lightest sandbag I could find just to try to keep up and not die. I was doing push-ups on a chair. I was doing everything I could to just not fall out.
Yeah. And nobody cares, right?
No, and nobody cared.
Nobody cares. Everybody just wants to connect. Everybody just wants to train hard. Everybody just wants to, share suffering. Yeah. And I think that's something that in particular, it's funny, when I first started the men's club, I thought I was going to get some beef from women. Never. Because if anything, I've gotten nothing but praise and support, because women want to see men do hard things. Women want to see men come home with the energy, the enthusiasm, the mental clarity. They want to see these men reach the best versions of themselves. And that's what I want to see coming out of these men's clubs. I'm going to do it indefinitely.
And I will definitely be joining more often because it's amazing. And, you've inspired me to want to start one of my own, because I do think it's really important to just have that camaraderie.
Dude, it's the camaraderie. It starts off the first time, you're like, what's up, man? Second time, even take, for example, the Two Brain Summit, right? You meet somebody on a Friday, you're like, hey, what's up, bro? How you doing? Maybe the next day you see him at a workout, you're like, hey, you want to be a partner? Okay. Maybe later on the day, you're like, hey man, you want to go grab a coffee? Then all of a sudden, now you have a relationship with somebody, and it could foster into something more. Same thing happens at these men's clubs, but it's as you get older as a guy, it's harder and harder to make new friends. Yeah. And I think that women do a much better job than men do at creating friendships around, even through their kids or through different circles. Men, I just find that they go to work, they do their thing, and then they either have their high school, college buddies, or they don't engage as much. And I think we could do a better job of that. So the men's club is one way of doing that.
I think it's great, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think our relationship has been built over meeting points at random times throughout the years, right? Whether it's conferences or Ava's Kitchen and fundraising events every year, right? We always know there's those points where we're going to connect at least a few times a year.
Yeah. No, it's been great, man. I really appreciate yours. Your wife, you guys have done an amazing job supporting Ava's Kitchen. So I really appreciate that. That's been huge.
Yeah. So, and if anybody's interested, where can they find more information? At avaskitchen.com, right?
avaskitchen.org. And Ava's Kitchen is an annual fundraiser for pediatric cancer. We raise quite a bit of money every year, and we put it to good use. Basically, what happens is the money we raise, and you know this better than anybody. The money is sent to an organization called NIGA, which is Never Ever Give Up. and it's the Jesse Reese Foundation. And so basically in collaboration, we identify what we want to get behind that year, and we go do a bunch of cool stuff. Send kids to Disneyland, do this, do that. But the goal is to put smiles on kids' faces. So there's some organizations that support the cure, which is very important. There's some organizations that support care, and we support care through AvisKitchen.org.
I think it's amazing because every year we come back and we hear stories of the things that were done, and it's so cool to hear what impact that money has gone to, right?
Right.
It's not often that you go to something like that, you give a ton of money. In our case, it could be upwards of $10,000 or more.
Yeah.
And then, that literally paid for 6 kids to go to Disneyland, or, 1,000 of those joy jars.
Yeah. Yeah. And so every year we take a lot of pride in like shaking somebody's hand and be like, hey man, any penny you give this organization, we're gonna make sure it goes to the right cause. Because there is no fluff. There's no admin, it's not like we're getting paid out of it. We're just trying to support and make sure the money is used effectively. We'll get emails from people saying, hey, my child has chemo. I need to travel in from this part of the country to this part of the country. I don't have gas money. And we'll send them gas money. And we'll verify that it's legit, but those are the kind of things that we want to have the ability to be able to say yes to.
It's incredible, man.
Whatever happens in life, right? Ava's Kitchen is an annual fundraiser supporting kids fighting cancer. We really focus on the care, not so much the cure. And if people are interested, go to aviskitchen.org. Next year in 2025, the event will be a little bit later than usual. It'll probably be in the March timeframe, just because in February it was impacted by the Super Bowl. Ooh. And Michael Mead is a big supporter of the Super Bowl, so we had to kind of switch it up a little bit.
That's all right, man, because you know what? Those chefs are always incredible. So for those that don't know, that he brings out award-winning chefs every year. And I had a chance to go to Stephanie Izzard's restaurant Saturday night.
Oh, really?
Or no, Friday night.
Dude.
And it was incredible.
It was,
just reminding me how good the food was.
The girl on the goat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the fundraiser. Just reminding me how good it was.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I love it, man. Good for you.
So let's talk more about the parenting side of things. You are an incredibly busy human being, right? You're bouncing around to summits and speaking engagements and different companies and just all the things you have going on, yet you constantly talk about finding the time to do the thing. Yeah. Whatever the thing is with the kids, you find time to do it. It really puts into perspective how much time we can have if we have the energy. But what I want to talk more about is how do you balance that? How do you prioritize and structure these things for someone who maybe is struggling in that department right now?
Yeah, and I think you got to identify what is your priority, what's your core focus, what's your purpose, and then prioritize accordingly. So for me, for example, today I already trained because I know that I could put points on the scoreboard early, and no matter what happens for the rest of my day, that's in my control. So when I'm at home, I'm going to train early to put points on the scoreboard so that no matter what happens, I could prioritize other things if it comes up. Now, if I have more time, I'll go hit the mats, I'll go hit the gym, whatever. But I think prioritizing your fitness early is a good stepping stone because it takes one thing off the plate. I think other thing is, obviously this AMRAP mentality, being present and focused in each thing you're doing is definitely a critical tool here where, you're never more effective than when you're AMRAPing in a workout, going for as many reps as possible, just fighting. And how do you take that mindset in each thing that you do, whether it's your workout, whether it's your date night with your wife, whatever it might be. And so I think AMRAPing each thing, switching gears throughout the day is the way that I try and do it. And, identifying a good team, I probably work less today in terms of hours in the business than I did 5 years ago. And the reason for that is I think we have a good team that's capable. And if anything, when I try to assert myself too much, it actually messes up the flow. And I think so identifying a really good team so you can free up your time to go focus on things that allow you to focus on the vision of where you want to go, which is huge as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And then, making sure you're on the same page with your spouse on prioritizing your relationship, I think is really, really important. So, my wife and I, we regularly schedule date nights. I think they're really important. When we do it, I think we talk about all things in life, making sure that our relationship stays on lock so that when the kids get older and they're away in college or wherever they're doing, we still have our relationship, right? Because we've been focused on it. So those are some of the things I do, right? I focus on my relationship with my wife, try and set up date nights. I try and AMRAP throughout the day, so I'm prioritizing, executing on one thing, switching gears, prioritize, execute, switch gears. And I try and put points on the scoreboard early so that I could take fitness off my plate.
Yeah, I think you really struck something that I'm really passionate about, which is freeing yourself from a job.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think for a lot of us, we became business owners to free ourselves from a terrible boss. You know, I never want to work for someone else again. But then ultimately we became the worst boss we've ever had because we don't know how to create boundaries and structures and AMRAP to where, yeah, I'm working from this time to this. I'm going to do a couple things that are really impactful on the business, but then I'm going to spend the rest of the time developing a staff that can ultimately run things.
Sure.
So I can be a great boss and a great dad and a great husband. And I think it's really cool to hear from someone like yourself that you have that over the last 5 years, because I think to a lot of people seeing it from the outside, it's like that guy just works. Like there's no way looking at the way he does things, he's not always working.
No, I no, that's not true. Yeah, for sure. I just prioritize my time on what's going to drive the most value for the business and for my life. So like, for example, I've been on the road every week for the last 5 weeks, and I typically so I flew down to LA and back. I flew to Texas, stayed a night, came back. I left at 6 a.m., came back at 10 p.m. I did that 3 weeks in a row. And now here I am in Chicago. So what I try and do is I try and minimize the time away from the family. So I left at 6 a.m., I stayed one night, I come back by 10 p.m., so I see them in the morning the next day. So I try and optimize my time to drive as much value as I can for the business while also being able to prioritize the family once I'm home. And I think delegating things out has been the best key for me, and saying no to more things and saying yes to things that I think are going to really drive value. So I could look at my wife in the eye and be like, hey, look, like this meeting I have, this thing I got to go to, it's going to drive a lot of value and I need to get ahead of it so that we could, so I could then be home and be present,
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize the difference between fluff and value. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of fluff that gets thrown on our plate that you have to be able to shove really quickly, or have a pit bull that says no. It doesn't even hit your plate.
Well, I mean, and here's the funny thing about that too is you have this idea as an entrepreneur of what's going to drive value. Like for me, I'll just use this as an example. I used to think that if I got on a big podcast, like in my mind, I'm like,
this one.
Like this one.
Yeah.
Like I remember I thinking to myself, like that's going to be the thing.
Yep.
And I'm never going to work again. It's like, dude, you could be on, I've been on a lot of really big podcasts and it's just one step in the direction towards where you want to go. But evaluating every single day, like, hey, how do I optimize my time? Is this podcast going to be worth my energy and effort? Or maybe I should take that time and create content. Or maybe I should take that time and create an SOP for my business so I could delegate that out. But I think each time, really reflecting on, is it my ego saying this is good for the business? Or is this actually going to drive value for the business? You know what I mean? Because those are two conflicting things, right? And you guys need to be aware of it.
Yeah, I think it's so crucial to just understand that yes, business is always going to be there, but it's really the third tier. If you look at it from a pyramid, right? Health and fitness, if you don't have that, that's the base. You got nothing to stand on.
Dude, you got nothing.
Yeah, and then you've got family, right? If you don't have someone to come home with this money and share this success with, what does it matter? And I see so many, I don't know what generation they are, but they're 50-something years old that have worked to the bone owning a business for 20, 30 years. They're divorced, their kids don't talk to them because they never showed up to anything, so they don't have a relationship. And now they've got this business that they don't want anymore because what's the point?
Right.
And all those years are they look back and they feel like it was wasted because they didn't put those other things first.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was talking to this guy, very successful guy, super rich, super, super rich. And I was on a rock with him. And we just started talking about life. We started talking about business and he was getting a divorce. And I'll never forget how this happens. We're talking about all kinds of shit, right? And he pauses, he stops. He looks at me, he's like, Jason, I'm going to tell you right now, I would give anything to have retained my relationship with my wife. I should have climbed mountains and crossed oceans. I should have done whatever it took to keep that relationship alive, and I didn't. And that's why I'm divorced, and now I'm dating some 20-year-old chick, right? Like but like the way he said it, he's like, I got 3 boys or whatever he had, and it was the way he like looked at me like, hey, I fucked up. Yeah. I was too distracted for whatever reasons, whether it was other women, business, you name it. But the way he said, like, I made a mistake. I should have done anything in my power to keep that relationship. It was just eye-opening for me. Like, once you find someone that's great, man, you gotta do everything in your power to retain that, and don't get distracted.
I'm not sure we're going to get any more powerful than that, because that like really hits home. If anybody is listening to this and is struggling in a relationship, you heard probably one of the most powerful things I've ever heard in terms of relationships as a business owner is, guy's got all the wealth in the world, and he would give it all to have a relationship back that he could trust.
That's it, man. I was thinking about this actually as I'm here. So I wrote the book As Many Reps as Possible in 2019, and we got rid of a bunch of books here today, and people seem to really enjoy the talk I gave yesterday and whatnot. And I was thinking about it more. I was like, do I want to write another book? As I'm sitting there, and I was like, maybe I do. I said, maybe I want to write a book that I would give my son the day he starts high school. That's the book I would give. What's the book that I would have wanted for myself the day I started high school? Because I know for me, I'm very blessed to have met my wife the first week of school. Very, very, very grateful. She kept me so focused, but I did not apply myself. I didn't reach my potential in high school, which impacted me. It set me back a couple of years. I had to go 2 years to a junior college before I got to a 4-year.
Yeah.
What if I had just been able to go straight in? Or what if I had been able to do other things? And so I wish I had a book that I could have read that just said, hey man, the system is designed to push you through. But once you're done with this next 4 years, the system's over. Yep. And it's up to you and your ability to, C's are no longer going to get degrees. You're either reaching your potential or you're not. Bottom line. So start today trying to reach your potential, because you don't want the system just to keep pushing. It's like, what would I have wanted to know when I was like 14? I would have wanted to know, find a great person, all these different things. I've been thinking about it a lot.
That's incredible, man, because I've been doing something similar. I'm writing a book right now that I wish I would have had the minute I decided I wasn't ever going to work for someone else again. Mm. And I realized that the first, probably from the day we met until 2022, a lot of wasted time, because I didn't realize how finite time was. I didn't realize how important doing really hard shit was. And I wish I had this book to realize where I could have been today had I worked at the same level of everything, of the balance and everything and the focus that I have now in 2016.
Right. Yeah. So, one of the things I want to tell my son is like, and I'm going to use the word towards the female because that's what I think he's, gravitating towards. But if it's a male, it's either one is fine. But if you want to be a king, Sal Frizella said this to me, and I just hit home. He's like, dude, if you want to be a king, you got to have a queen. And that's not diminishing of the queen. The queen is even more powerful. Yeah. My wife, she runs the house. She runs my life. Yeah. Right. But if you really want to thrive as a man, you got to find a really strong woman who could be in your corner when other people might doubt you, but she has your back and she supports your journey, because it's only going to make you more fulfilled along that path. And if that's a guy, a girl, it doesn't matter. But finding somebody that can be your partner, that can really make you feel like you can do anything, man, it just unlocks even more potential. And that's what I want to write, like in a book. I want to say, so I met your mom, I met your mom, she changed my life. And then all these other life lessons.
Yeah, shout out to my queen, man, because Alexis is a powerful woman. I wouldn't be here without that. So
yeah, man, and I that's just the way I feel, man. I really feel that way, and I think that's been diminished. I think relationships, especially this younger generation, they swipe left, swipe right, they look for the next great thing, and relationships are hard. They take work, and you're not just gonna swipe and find Prince Charming. You got to find someone, communicate, understand each other, and then start really working on a relationship. And I want to write about that, because I think that as digital becomes more popular, as instant gratification becomes more popular through Instacart and this and that, people are going to forget that relationships, anything worth doing takes time and hard work, and it's not so instantaneous.
Yeah, I wish I would have known that in 2016.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that hard work part, man. And it's not as much as people think.
No,
it's just focused.
It's focused, and it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to try something, it's going to fail. You're going to try it again, it's not going to fail, and you just got to stay consistent with it. And I think that's something that this younger generation, I feel unfortunate for them. I really do, because I grew up when I got to high school, I got my first Nokia Snake phone, my first Nokia phone. So
get that phone.
And that's a different era, right? I didn't have instant Google, name the thing. I could find it in my pocket right now, right? But when it comes to relationships, when it comes to business, it's not that simple. And I worry that people are gonna miss out on really meaningful relationships because they're thinking that they're gonna be perfect tomorrow, and it takes time.
Yeah, you can't manufacture a relationship on an app.
Yeah. There you go.
Hate to say it. Sorry, Jen, whatever letter we're at now. I don't know.
Yeah. Jen, I don't even know.
Yeah, I can't even keep up anymore. Yeah. So I want to respect your time.
Yeah, I don't even know when this thing starts. I think it starts at 8:30, actually.
Do you have anything you want to share? Any last words or wisdom or anything you want to share before we go?
I'm just having a conversation. We can talk about whatever you want. I mean, if you haven't tried jiu-jitsu, you should try jiu-jitsu. If you're lacking purpose in your life, it really takes some time. Maybe go sit in the sauna and go think about it more, because once you find a strong passion, once you find a strong purpose, you can go achieve a lot of stuff.
I second the sauna. Best thing I've done in a long time. I'm actually sleeping through the night for the first time in my entire adult life. So look into a sauna.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, how hot are you going? 200? How hot does yours get?
I sit at 175 for 30 plus minutes. So I'm
you're
working
there
on
for a long
volume.
time. Yeah. I ordered in an Almost Heaven, and I took the temperature gauge and I put it on the floor so that it gets way hotter.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I haven't Almost Heaven.
I'm hacking you right now. So normally they tell you to put the sensor like maybe a foot away from the ceiling.
Yeah.
The problem is towards the ceiling it gets hotter. So instead you put it low where it's get hella cold. And dude, that thing will get 220, and you pour water over those rocks and it is just gonna be smoking hot in there. So you gotta go change where your sensor's at.
Oh yeah. No, because Alexis likes it at like 190, 200, and I'm like 175, but I like to go for a long time.
Yeah, dude, change where the sensor's at. Tell me. It'll change the game.
That's my wisdom. I just learned something dope. Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on. We're wrapping. This was awesome.